Today we're hanging out with Chuck Billy from Testament. An absolute honor. Chuck, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. I just got home Monday from our tour, Clash of the Titans with Creator and Possessed here in the US. So after 2 days of sleep, I think I'm feeling more like myself today.
I can only imagine that it would take a bit of recovery time to get over such a monumentous event, nay events. And we're talking today because look, you've got a little bit of a break, but essentially the party doesn't stop for that tour. It is going to be rolling on to us here in Australia. How are you preparing for continuing the party?
Well, it's been 13 years since we've been to Australia. And it's been one, two, three, maybe four records that we've wrote since last time we were there. So, and by the time we get there in June, I believe our new record should be out by then. So I do believe Australia will probably be the first stop for anybody to hear the New Testament music live. Will be Australia. So we're fired up. We're very excited about the new album. It's a killer. It's a killer. The new drummer Chris Dovis really inspired Eric to write some killer metal, and the songs are very strong and heavy and fast. And when you hear it, you'll probably say, "This sure doesn't sound like a 38-year-old band." That's for sure. When you hear it, so we're excited about it, and looking forward to Australia. But Australia's used to, well, it still is. It's been so long. Always been one of my favorite places to go, and it's a shame that we don't get to come there as often as we hope.
Yeah, I mean, and we always love having you here. Uh, you mentioned, yeah, that it was what, 13 or so years ago, because I had to look it up as well, because I saw you guys play at Soundwave,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Two thou-
first of all, blown away. You're like, oh, I saw Testament. It wasn't that long ago, and he's like, holy crap, it's like a decade of
2012.
my
Yeah, exactly. That
good
that was
decade of life.
that was the return of Steve DiGiorgio. That's how I remember that when he first got back into the band. That was the first stop we went to was Australia with him.
Break his Testament seal.
Yeah.
And yeah, the thing I remember the most from that show was just how much fun you guys were having on stage. And you said that, it's a band with a pretty deep history. I know not all members have been there the whole time. Got your core team, new drummer along, but it's just refreshing to see a band that just loved what they were doing and loved each other and loved the crowd, but at the same time just kicked out some brutal fucking jams.
Well, thank you so much, and you know, us getting Steve in the band, of course, we were having, internal problems with the band and the bass player who left the band, and that's always not fun to go through that. So Steve has always been a breath of fresh air in this band. It was good to have him back. And we know playing Soundwave was a huge festival, and we knew it was going to be fun. We knew it was going to be awesome. And when we went, man, yeah, like you said, we had fun because Australia to me reminds me a lot of California. People are just so laid back, easy going, no worries. And that's kind of way we are here. So it just almost felt like home.
Keep it on that chill vibe while again
Yeah.
bringing the brutals. So you've also, yeah, mentioned along with the time, the history of the band, new records on the way, a whole bunch of records already released and out there. How do you go about picking your set list for these shows with such a wide range of material to dive into?
It's very difficult because you got three of us, the core guys, want to play what we want to play. And next thing you know, our list is so huge. And then we kind of got to bicker about what's the final songs. I think until we start rehearsing them, and some of them might not feel as, you know, the live song really, we kind of go, okay, that one's not going to work. Let's go to the next one and try that. Um, But I think since we've been touring and working pretty hard over the last 10 years, we have a good set ready to go for Australia because from the gathering till now, that's probably most of the stuff we'll play. Um, and again, I think we'll probably play two or three songs off the new record by the time we get there. The new record, we're fired up about it. So it's going to be interesting to see because hopefully a lot of the fans have been following us and we'll have the new record by the time we get there and maybe hopefully know the songs by the time we get there. But yeah, we're looking forward to this. The guys, every time we've got an offer, it just hasn't worked out. So when I told the guys this year, we got another offer for Australia, everybody was like, well, how do we make this work? I'll take a pay cut. I'll fly coach. I don't need a roadie. I just want to go. So it was everybody trying to do their best to just make sure we get there this time. And we are.
That's very sweet of you guys, and we certainly appreciate that because, yeah, we know the time, the distance that it takes to get here. Australia isn't the most economically friendly country in the world right now. So, yeah, the exorbitant amount it costs to tour here, even as a band that lives in Australia, getting around, we haven't got that many huge population centers. So yeah, we've got a few things stacked against us, but one thing we certainly don't lack is the love and the enthusiasm for seeing live music.
Yeah, I would bet. I mean, you had one of the greatest festivals on the planet, Soundwave, so that one is probably one that stands tall about all festivals around the world.
All right, that's awesome because there's a bit of contention at the moment with a couple of festivals that we've got happening here in Australia. We've got one called Good Things coming up, and Notfest itself, and it just yeah, there's a bit of contention going on. People. I mean, no one's ever going to be 100% happy with a lineup. I mean, I know. I mean, like things like Soundwaves. I've gone to them just because there was two lower card bands that I wanted to see and didn't particularly care for who the massive headliners were at the festival on a given year. So yeah, you're never going to be 100% happy with the lineup. They're not making it for you. But ultimately, yeah, that a festival in Australia could be so well regarded around the world. And I'm sure that the team behind Soundwave would be very happy to hear about that as well.
Yeah, and amazingly, that's who's bringing us back is AJ, who put on the Soundwave Festival and invited us 13 years ago. He's the one actually bringing us back for these shows.
That relationship is kept on and going to be able
Yeah,
to work together again. That's pretty sweet.
yeah.
Because you've been such a fixture in the seminal, and you've got the backdrop rocking behind you as well. Bay Area thrash metal bands. I'd like you to, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about how you've seen that community grow over the years that you've been involved.
Well, it's definitely not the community and scene like it was in the 80s growing up. When thrash metal kind of evolved early 80s through the Bay Area, we didn't really know that was something new happening. It was just something that we thought maybe happened everywhere else in the world. But, it definitely created some really good thrash bands, the Metallicas and Exoduses and, Testaments, all the bands that came up, even the bands from LA, Slayers and bands like that, Suicidal, would come to the Bay Area to play because, playing the Hollywood Strip wasn't really necessarily made for heavy metal bands back in the 80s, more for glam hair metal bands. But the Bay Area was really a breeding ground for that style of music. So a lot of those LA bands would come up there to play. Um, and we had a lot of places to play because I think a lot of those hair bands left the scene in the Bay Area to pursue the scene in Hollywood. They were the ones that wanted to be at the Whiskey a Go Go and the Roxy and all these bars and uh, clubs on the strip. So, I think the scene now it's pretty diverse, has a bunch of different style of bands. There's not as many places to play that are cool. It still has its historic places like we just played the Warfield on Sunday night. that has its history going back as far as we can remember. So, it's definitely different times.
Yeah, I guess things have to evolve and have to change. It's the way of the world. Are there sort of any bands that you see that are sort of carrying the torch for thrash in the Bay Area?
Well, there definitely is. I mean, I know Forbidden's making a comeback right now. Violence got back together, making a comeback again. But there's a couple new bands. I know like Steve Souza has two kids in a band called Hatriot, and they're real true blue thrash, and I think they're actually evolving more into like black metal themselves, but they have that hunger and that fire of what, we are all about and understand, probably due to their father.
And the sins of.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, someone's got to carry that thrash torch, and the new generation will hopefully bring it strong for you.
Yeah. And there's so many new younger bands that are just influenced that are coming up with their own sound and styles, which is great just for music in general. I know always heavy metal or aggressive extreme music has never got the praise and the props that it deserves amongst the board, from Grammys to MTV to wherever it is. We always seem to be at the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a double-edged sword on that because on one sense, it kind of it fits the outcast vibe of metal. I know would metal feel, as personal to us all if it was such a wide mainstream thing, but at the same time, you know, you want that recognition. It's proven again and again that generally the heavy metal genres have the strongest, most supporting fan bases. That ultimately we do put the most amount of time, money, and resources into the art, the community, the scene. Everything about it is, the top of the pops. It's not just some artificial, flash in the pan pop sensation. Like we live this life.
True. It is a lifestyle too. And so, like you said, some people might want to keep it underground and keep it to themselves and keep it with that allure of being mysterious and dangerous and especially I know like when I was younger, that's what I wanted. I wanted my music to be dangerous and mysterious and scary. That's what I wanted.
Yeah. So again, it goes back to you just can't have it all. But certainly any bit of props and recognition you can get, take it.
True. Take it.
Is there anything on your end that you wanted to talk about and let the fans know on the Testament side of things?
Um, just that, again, I want to talk about the new record because we're just very, very pleased. And when you make new records, you don't know, at least I haven't known until the records were finished, recorded, and mixed, till we really realize, wow, this is a pretty strong record. Because you're only writing songs and putting them together, and you really don't know. But this record, the songs just were really standing out like, wow, man, that song's killer. Oh, that's a killer, and we kept saying that and like, wow, I just want to keep listening to it and playing it. And I want everybody to hurry up and hear it. Let's hurry up and finish so we can let everybody hear what we're doing. So we haven't had that feeling like that in a long time. So I hope when people finally do get to hear it, they have the same enthusiasm that we have to share it with them. So I think there's some good things, and I want people to really to listen to and go, wow, this does not sound like a 38-year-old band rehashing, you know, their metal roots. These guys are still pushing the envelope, still creating something new, sounding different, but still resembling who they are, you know?
And yeah, it's awesome that when you're doing something creative that is, yeah, pumping you up, you're hyping each other up, you're getting really excited, and you can only hope that that is going to translate to the audience, the listeners, the fans, and I'm absolutely sure it will. You've said so many things that are particularly going to pump up the Australian Testament fan group. Um, we're going to get the chance to see those tracks live before pretty much everyone else.
Everyone else,
Uh,
yeah.
we're just going to get to see you again after a decade. So we are, yeah, absolutely frothing to get you guys out here. It's going to be mid next year. The dates are pretty much all in June. And yeah, Chuck, Billy, thank you so much for having a chat with us today.
Well, thank you. I look forward to getting there, man. I really do.